Alright, let's go inside.
Hi guys, bit of a different video today. Over here at the bandsaw, and we're going to show it some love. Just need to resharpen and maybe set these teeth again on the blade. I do have a little jig here that I made. It is a little bit ugly. I've got this one here for redoing the gullets. But I think the first thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to pull it out of this little corner, all the rubbish off it. I'm just going to move it over there where there's more light and I can set up the camera more easily. So this bandsaw I just got from one of the local tool shops, the tool shed, and it's not their highest model, it's sort of their intermediate model. But I have done some modifications on this. You might notice that there's a bit of a hole here. And I did put a zero clearance plate in there, but it sort of broke. And I haven't really worried about it since. I also cut off, there's a finger guard here. That's so I could get more height right up to the bearing, because it actually went down and you couldn't even really adjust the bearings. And then underneath I've just got these couple of pieces of wood here. It's supposed to help with dust extraction, but I hardly ever have the dust on. And there's just some magnets on the bottom here that make it just stick to the metal. And yeah, and this has just got a groove in it to go around this little bar here. And there is another piece at the back. This little piece of the same thing again, it's got magnets in it, so it sticks. And I've just got foam around it to try and keep all the dust in there. But as you can see, I've been a bit slack on having the dust extractor connected up. So those just go in there like that. I'm trying to figure out which way around. And I also remade this bearing housing, this one up here. I didn't have to remake the whole thing, but I just put a piece of wood on there so I could move the bearing back further so I could put a bigger blade on. Because before you couldn't get this whole bracket here. This bracket here is supposed to move back, but it's back at its maximum, and I couldn't put the blade in there with the front little riding, whatever you call them, the bearing sticks, whatever you call them. So there's no side bearings on the bottom here, it's just got some pieces of, I don't know what it is, some hard steel or something to ride along. So yeah, those covers just cover up all those holes and try and keep, because you get poor dust extraction on a bandsaw. And I stuck a gasket around the edge and a piece of tape up here to try and keep as much of the dust in. As you can see, I wasn't too good at having the dust extractor on again. So that's sort of how you can see the bottom of the bandsaw, how it works. There's the drive pulley. You can adjust the tension with this knob over here on the belt. And there's also a second speed down here, so you can do metal, so you can have a higher spinning blade, quicker. That's all there is to show under there. So we're back at the top. And most bandsaws are like this. You can just adjust the guard, the runners down like this. And this one's just got ball bearings on either side and a ball bearing on the back, as you can see there. So you got two guide ball bearings there to stop the blade going in and out, and then the back one's the thrust bearing. And I know you're supposed to have a bit of a gap on there when it runs, but every time you move this it changes the distance. See, I can push on it and now it doesn't rub at all. So yeah, like I said, it's not the highest quality model, but for wood turning it's pretty good. Alright, now moving on to sharpening jig. This one does the gullets, so it does the little curved piece on the inside. And what I've got is a It's got some cabinet slide runners, drawer runners, just mounted on there, platform, and there's a little hinge down here to hinge this. And I've also got a little piece of spring steel here at the front that hooks into the teeth. So you just clamp this down, this jig, so it doesn't move, and see that little spring here at the front. I'll pull you closer. See that little spring in there? You just cut into your jig here with the bandsaw, and then now you can lift a tooth at a time and set it back down, just like that. And then what I use for actually cutting the gullets is a grinder, and this has just got a cement blade on it with diamonds on it. It's meant for cutting tiles and bricks and that sort of thing. And it just mounts in this jig here. That goes over there, and this mounts into the handle hole on the side. Alright, once you got the grinder in there, you bring that up to your teeth there, inside one of the gullets there, and you can use, I've got a knob here and a knob here on this side, and you can adjust the height up and down. And what you want to do is you want to be just hitting sort of the middle of that gullet, sort of just the top of that tooth. You want to go above it into the gullet. So you just bring it up, get it roughly there, and once you've got it roughly there, what you're going to need to do is you're going to need to put a stop on the back. So you just piece of wood on, because this piece here won't move, and this is what's moving in and out. So you just get it, sit it in the gullet there, and you could just screw this in. I'm just going to use clamps so I can adjust it and take it off and all that. So I'll just put a clamp on each side. And now when you come out and in, it always hits the same spot. So yeah, you just bring it in and you're looking just to do the bottom of that tooth there. And you can get nice fine adjustments with using these knobs over here. So that brings it up and down, and then the stop at the back gives you the stop point. So basically you just do that with the grinder on, obviously, and then you come back, move it up one tooth, and come back, and just like that. I might have it a little bit high. It's important to do a couple of dry runs like this, just so you don't wreck all your teeth on. So the whole reason behind this jig is redoing the gullets, because normally when I'd sharpen a bandsaw blade, I just open up one of the doors and spin the wheel with my hand, and I've just got a little diamond card here, 300, 600, I'll just use the 300 side, and I'll just put it up there on a rough angle to try and match the previous angle that was already on the teeth. And then moving the wheels, one of the wheels, you can just do this. You can do this with a file as well, but it kind of wrecks a file. And you just do that, spin it around for a good minute or so, and that'll be enough to make these like little cat claws really sharp. But when you do that 8 or 10 times, the tooth disappears. So you can imagine you end up with just a piece of steel here, and that's what this is for, is remaking the gullets. So you just come in and you can redo those gullets all to the same depth. Just like that. So imagine this is going up, one, down, just like that. And you can get the fine adjustment with the knobs. But it doesn't matter too much if you've got no teeth left, because you can just sort of make your own new teeth. And you can only do this on a through hardened blade. Some blades only have the hardening on the edge. This one's hardened all the way through. Well, heat treated, you know. If you only have a heat treatment on the edge, Some of them will have, I think they call them the soft back or something like that, more flexible, which means they just face hardened the teeth on the front. So once you got rid of the teeth, there's no hardened material, so there's no point sharpening. But this one is fully hardened through, so I can go until this snaps. And because I'm a wood turner, we're quite abusive on our bandsaws, so this is a good way of keeping the price down rather than buying a new blade every time you have bent teeth, snapped teeth or something like that. You can just make new teeth. And when it comes to doing the set, I've got this little sort of ugly jig here. So you put the blade in here, and it clamps on with these bolts here. And then basically you just spin this out, and on this one it's the teeth set goes left, right, and then center, and then it will go right, center, left, and then center, right, left. So it's swapping, it's doing a little zigzag sort of pattern. And like I mentioned just before, because wood turners, we're kind of aggressive. We're putting big bowl blanks on here and twisting the blades and all sorts. I get this jumping off sometimes. And it's good to reset your blade. This does take quite a while. There's probably faster ways of doing it. This is just the jig I've made. So you just tighten those down. And this will clamp the blade and stop it from slipping. Stop the jig from slipping. And then yeah, I'm just going to do this one tooth because I don't really need to set any. And you just go, and I've got just a single angle on here so I can, do 180 degrees. Once I feel the pressure, I can go around and do a 270 and decide, okay, that's my set, and do that to all of them. And obviously you don't need to do the middle straight tooth, as long as it's still straight. And then to do the other side, you just flip it upside down, and just like that. And it does take quite a while to do that, because there's, I think I did the math, I think there's about 500-ish teeth on this. So yeah, I might just show you sharpening one of the gullets, just so you can see what it's like. So yeah, it's important to do dry run first. And when you first start off, put a line, so as you come around you can tell how, once this vivid line comes back up, you've done the whole blade. So I'm just going to, like I said, I'm just going to do 1 or 2 teeth here. It doesn't really need it because I've got gullets, but I want to show you. And yeah, that's basically it. You just keep doing that backwards and forwards, and yeah, if you can tell that you're not quite on the tooth, do a fine adjustment, otherwise you're just going to destroy your teeth and have no teeth left. You can also use these aluminum oxide fibre disc grinding wheels, but they are quite thick, so you have to get quite onto it, and the edge shape does change. I did start off using this, but then I wasn't getting quite sort of right shape because it was all just forming to the size of the gullets, whereas the steel blade isn't going to change shape, and this just changes shape. So I said you can use these if you've got a smaller blade, it might work, but because this is a 2.5 meter long blade, I think it's 4 teeth per an inch. So yeah, that's my bandsaw and my jig for sharpening. So yeah, once you've done the gullets with the grinder, And if you set your teeth if you need to, if you notice that there's a few bent teeth on there, or you notice it's not cutting straight, use a jig like this. As you can see there, it clamps on. There's just some threaded holes in there, and so this bar clamps onto the blade that's going down here, and then this can come in and push the teeth over to how far you want it, just by, if you know, you feel the tension and you can say okay, that far. And I just eyeball it. I mean, you can probably get calipers out and measure the distance. The set is supposed to be only the maximum of a tooth width over. Might just do a little diagram. So yeah, you have one tooth on the right, one in the center, and one on the left, and then center right, and then center left, and so on and so forth. So once you've got all that done, you can take this and clamp this and move this whole jig off. And then when it comes to sharpening sort of day to day, I just use, like I said before, this little diamond card here, and I just hold it up and find that same angle that I've already got, and then with your other hand just come up here and spin the wheel. And that's literally all it needs, and I can feel that's nice and catching my finger, scratching my nail, so that's definitely sharp. And that's how I do it. I do it all on the bandsaw, so I don't have to take the blade out and take this rail off, because everyone knows if you've got a bandsaw, changing the blade is a right nightmare, because then you also got to change all your bearing settings and all that. So yeah, you'll get probably about, I'd say 10 to 20 sharpens doing it this way, and then you'll need to bring the grinder out. And if you've damaged your blade at all, if it's fallen off and got a big kink in it and you can see there's some bent teeth, you can reflatten the teeth just with pliers or something, and then just use that tooth setter. Alright, so now the teeth are all sharpened, or you've got a new blade in here, or it's not cutting straight, and you want to adjust the blade. I'm going to show you how to do that right now. So the first thing you want to do is you want to loosen off all the bearings and everything holding the blade. And up here I have the tools that I need to take apart the lathe, not the lathe, sorry, the bandsaw. I have a little spanner here that came with it for adjusting all these bits. So the first thing you want to do, like I said, is you want to slacken off all the bearings. This carriage comes forwards and backwards. That back bearing also has a micro adjust on the other side. So now that it's free from all those ones out there, you do the same down the bottom. Alright, we're under the bandsaw now. These are my just little blocks here I got for the dust collection. It does work quite well when the dust collector's on. I use my big 2 horsepower one. I don't use the little vacuum hose. That's what this one was for. There's a little plastic bracket, but I just use that as well as the bit going down the little slot, and down the back here is where I've got the big pipe coming in. So yeah, back to the adjusting the blade. You want to loosen off all your bearings, slides, whatever you got. It's going to be a bit annoying because the bolt fills up with sawdust. So just do that, move that back. As you can see, I don't get much movement back, that's why I made this piece of wood here. And then you also want to slacken off those blocks at the front. So yeah, once you got all those slackened off, and yeah, there's just 2 Allen keys in here front for these blocks. So when that's all loose, we'll go back up the top. I'm just going to open this door. And now, so now you can see where the blade's running on this top wheel, and you can sort of see where I've got it. I've got it so that the gullet is pretty much, the back of the gullet is bang on halfway, and the front of the tooth is this way of halfway. So when the blade's coming down and this is turning, it's trying to twist the blade if you've got this offset. So if you got it towards the back, it's going to pull the blade this way, and if you got it on the front of it, it's going to pull it this way. So that's why I have that gullet right on halfway, so it keeps it pretty much bang on, because it's easier to control the back of the blade. Like a boat, it's easier to try and control the back than the front. And the way that you adjust where this blade runs on the wheel is around the back. So on the back here there is a knob. There's a little nut here to lock it off. So what you do is you turn this, and that will change the tilt of the wheel. And changing the tilt of the wheel, that will change where the blade sits. So the first thing you want to do is you just want to unlock that and loosen it off completely. And the other thing is you have your tension knob up here. This is for putting tension on the blade. You want to loosen this off just a little bit if you haven't done so already. So yeah, this knob up here is where you tension the wheel. It moves it up and down, and that back knob adjusts the tilt. So first thing you want to do is you want to do the tension of your blade before you do the guides. So down here you can see, sort of, I'd like to just push it until you can sort of see your skin change colour. That's how I sort of tighten it too. Some saws might actually have like a little needle gauge down here or somewhere, but this one doesn't have it, it's not that flash. So I just sort of guess where the tension should be. A thicker blade you can tension more, a thinner one you want less tension, otherwise you're just going to snap it. But the tighter it is, the easier it is going to be to guide. You don't want it too tight because it's just going to wear your motor. So about there I reckon is right. And there's no way to lock off that setting, so it is what it is. Now you want to set where your blade's actually running. The blade's running. As you can see, we're further towards the back, so with that knob on the back you want to twist it and rotate this with your hand, and you just keep going until you, so you can see I'm rotating the knob and it's moving where the blade is. Move it the other way, it's moving the blade back, and you just do this until you get that pretty much in the middle. Like I said, you want the back of the gullet on halfway. It looks about right. So yeah, when you do the gullets, you will need to do this because it's going to change where it's sitting on the wheel. If you're just doing the standard sharpening, you don't need to do this. So now I've got that set, I'm going to lock off that nut at the back. So now I've locked it off at the back, I'm just going to check again that it's not going to move. And yeah, that's about right. So now you've got that set in the middle. That's why you want to release all the bearings, because if you don't release the bearings down the bottom, it's going to stop the blade going backwards. So that's not actually running on any of the bearings at the moment. And that's on halfway, the back of the gullet. So now we're done at the top here, now we can move down to the guide bearings. Alright, I've got you crammed in here now. Now it's time to adjust these bearings. What I like to do is I like to do the back one first, and then I like to do the sides. Like I said, these ones are just like little pins in the front here, you just tighten the Allen key. Back one's just a standard bearing. So I like to get it so when you're turning it, it's not really turning that back bearing. I might slightly touch it. But if you have it touching all the time, it's just going to wear your bearing out. So think about there. as you can see, this is quite fiddly. It's even harder when you've got a camera in here. Alright, so now I've got that back one set. Now it barely touches, it only touches some of the time because this blade is a bit bent in places because I've tweaked it on bowl blanks and things like that. But now you want to do these little side pins, and these things are the same. I like to just push them in so they're touching but still loose, and then all I do is I just lightly push the bandsaw blade to one side, and that gives me my little gap. Tighten up, push it a little bit to the other side. I just went too much on that, I'll just push it back in. I'll just push it a little bit. Then basically the smaller the gap you can have without it rubbing, the better. So that's the bottom all set up. Put my blocks back in. And now we'll go up the top and do the top bearing. Alright, so now we've got the tension set, and we've got the running on the middle of the tyre up here, and we've done the bottom guides. Now it's time to do this one. So on this particular side, as soon as you move this, it changes where the settings are. So I don't like to move this up and down too much. Some of the fashion models, this is like on a gear driven system, so it should stay pretty straight with the blade. But this one doesn't. So same thing again as the bottom really, except these side bearings, I like to have them running on the back of the blade because it's sort of like a boat. You want to control from the back rather than the front. So the back edge of the bearing is going to go in line with the blade, which is about there. So now I can lock off this whole carriage. And then you want to set the back bearing, so like I said, when you turn the wheel it's either like just touching or just barely touching. There we go, it's only touching some of the time. Like I said, this blade is a little bit tweaked, and this is very fiddly to tighten up. And you're basically on the good bandsaws, this is what you're paying for, is the easy adjustability. This one isn't so easy. So yeah, this one's a little bit difficult to adjust. So we've got that back one set, so now it barely touches and it goes around. So as soon as you push on it, the back bearing's rolling. Now same thing with the side ones, I like to push just a little bit to the side and just tighten it down. Same thing with this one, push it a little bit to the side, just tighten it with my fingers. So you can barely see it's barely running on those bearings. So we'll just tighten those up now. You can see this one isn't so good because when you tighten it up it can shift the bearings. As you can see, that one there is running all the time. So we're just going to move that over a little bit. So there we go, all set on the bandsaw now. And that's basically it for setting. Now it's good to cut. So yeah, bandsaw for wood turners. Thanks for watching guys. Thanks for all the guys watching the last video. Seems like I got quite a few subscribers off that last one. And let me know what you want to see. More videos like this, more tunings. And until next time, cheers.